So, something incredible that I have to talk about is that, like a day ago, 30 to 40 minutes away from me, a bombing was carried out successfully. And that's just scary. Like, to me, as it was happening, I was walking back from home. Like, I wasn't in the area, but I was walking back from home and I was looking around and kind of like something weird is happening because there was a whole lot of traffic when it should have been no traffic. Well, relatively no traffic. But I just kind of shoot that thought out of my brain because at first, where I was going, there was some traffic. Maybe it was just an odd day and it just happened to be more traffic today and continued on my day. But then I saw a metro tunnel being shut down, and that's weird. And then when I left that tunnel, I was like, oh, that's odd. And then in the distance, I hear ambulances. And I'm like, whoa, that's even weirder. But I was like, something is happening here, but I will get the details when I go home. And when I went home, somebody told me that a senator had died, which would have been why there was so much, hassle. But if he had died, why were there ambulances going there? And if he had died, why the metro tunnel was shut down? And all of these questions in my brain, I was like, it's probably nothing that urgent. I can wait. But then I hear that, you know, 30 minutes away from me, 40 minutes away from me, a bombing was successfully carried out. A bombing on a police station, specifically. And said bombing caused 12 people to die and caused 40 people to get injured, which is a lot. But the scary part is the place that I live, was supposed to be the safe haven where there was no terrorism. You had nothing to worry about regards to terrorism. Nothing of this sort had ever happened. Like, it was more mythic than Narnia. This should never have happened. Never. That was what was so scary. Terrorism should have never gotten here. Yet, a couple of minute drive from where I am right now, it was like, whoa, shit's got real, huh? And I was a bit worried because I had family members who lived in that area, but I talked to them and they were fine. But it's scary that, you know, a bombing, a fucking bombing was successfully carried out, you know, even though this was supposed to be a safe haven where nothing of this sort could happen. Nothing. And it's like, that's scary. And you would hear that a checkpoint has got, a car with a bomb in it and shit like that, but they successfully stopped it from getting here. But that was it. Nothing beyond that. But now this incident has happened and it has claimed 12 whole lives. And that's insane. Mainly the people outside of the building, that's who died during this explosion. And it's so scary to think that even here, where it's supposed to be safe, you could walk into a building and never come out. Or not even walk into a building, be walking right next to a building and never return. Like, that's scary. Even though that I don't personally feel as much of fear as I probably should. I just don't. Like, now that I've calmed down, I don't feel as scared because why would it happen again? Why would there allow such a fucked up thing to happen again? I don't think it would happen again, but just once was enough to shake me up. And it's scary when you think about it because this was just one attack, like just one bomb. If there were more than one people who got here, that's scary. But now, the ramifications of this event. So, it has increased the chances of my country to go to war significantly and has caused, you know, the security of this entire city to increase significantly because I live in the capital, which has caused me to see a lot of police cars, policemen just everywhere, which I don't know how to feel about. Only time will tell. And some people think that this was caused by the government themselves, which I don't know if I support, but that's what people are saying. And if it was truly caused by the government, that's appalling. The only reason that I don't just throw this out of hand immediately is that I personally have very little trust in the government, and a lot of people have similar sentiments because our governments in the past weren't as capable as you would think a government should be, considering they have the lives of thousands of people resting on their shoulders. They weren't, and they were especially not reliable enough that you could just be like, ah, the government, them's gonna save us. It's not that. So I don't think I fully believe that the government did this because that would be quite insane. But I can get why people would think that the government would do something even close to this insane because, as I said, the trust between people and the government is, non existent. And when, your trust is non existent, there's nothing else left there, which has caused a big rift between the people like me and you and people on top. But I don't think it's the government. I think it's a bit insane to think that it's the government which bombed its own capital, which I simply refuse to believe, even if it's true. But that's really scary if that's true. And it's not just that which is scary. It's also scary that the bombing could have affected anyone. It could have been me who was caught up in the bomb and went to Valhalla. I don't think that is a comforting thought to anyone. You know, just knowing that there could have been multiple bombers, could have been more than one person behind the bombing, and when them people could have not have been caught and are maybe still out. It's scary. That's the stuff of nightmares that gives people the heebie jeebies. But I hope that this isn't the omen of the future or some shit like that, because I genuinely do want to live a normal life, not be a war orphan or shit like that, or, not be affected by some sort of loony war over some shit that nobody cares about. I just don't. And I don't think anyone wants to. So I really, really hope that this gets a solution, But from what I've heard, uh, that's not really gonna happen. Like the people in politics are like being like, can you really reason with terrorists? Can you? Can you? And it's like, I guess you, I guess you can't. But it really depends on who you are calling terrorists. Because if you're calling, one of our neighbors terrorists, that's a different story. Because I mean, they may or may not be supporting them, but reason can be reached because they're government, and reason is a thing. But I really think that this is going to get a bit out of hand, and I really hope that it doesn't at the same time. So, yeah, I will give you more updates later if I have any more updates regarding, this incident. But I don't think there's much more to talk about because, the guy who did it, he was a suicide bomber. So he just took himself out along with the everything. But that's what has been happening here, which is a rather scary turn of events, but a bit of an expected one. I mean, the situation of where I live, if you know about it, this wouldn't surprise you because the location I live in, it's not Beverly Hills. It's not that. It's not even close. It's pretty mediocre place. You don't want to be here, but that's really kind of out of my control. This entire country is a piece of shit. You don't really want to be here if you could have a choice. And if I had, the ability to leave, you bet your sweet ass I would leave instantaneously. Not even a second of questioning would be required. Like I would be out of there faster than the speed of light. But alas, circumstances are circumstances, and circumstances forbid me from leaving. So I'm a bit conflicted on how to feel. I think and hope and pray to God that this doesn't, get out of hand and cause some sort of incident that sparks some sort of war and goes haywire and ruins my life, because it's not, like, obviously it's not just my life it would ruin. As an individual, to me personally, dying in a war isn't a good thing. I don't know about other people because here the brainwashing runs deep, and there are a decent chunk of people who would kill you if you thought that dying in a war was a bad thing. I don't speak for them, I speak for myself. I would not want to die in a war like a dog. That's just a thing that I don't want. And I hope it doesn't get that bad, but only time will tell. It's it's kind of just scary to think that a bombing happened literally yesterday, and it wasn't stopped. And by any means, it wasn't stopped at all. But yeah, that's kind of just scary thought to think that a fucking bombing was carried out successfully in the capital of my country. But that's the way the things are. But hey, that's about it from me. Bye.